Before we get started with today's interview, just a quick reminder, click the thumbs up, make sure you subscribe, and ding the bell so that you don't miss any of the great interviews that we have coming up. Now, on to today's interview. Welcome back, everybody. Today, my guest is composer Catherine Rollin. Her piece on the new Federation Festivals list is Butterflies. You can find it in her book, Museum Masterpieces, Book A, from a fine music retailer near you. Thank you so much for being here today, Catherine.
Thank you for having me.
So this piece begins with this wonderful fluttering of butterfly wings. We get to use that rotation in our hands. And then toward the end of the piece, we get to do some hand crossing with some staccato notes. Talk to us about what we should be focused on as we teach butterflies.
The thing I like to emphasize about this piece is that it's another piece that can use one pedal throughout. You know, it's so interesting how with each piece, it has a different sound, but each time the sound is something kind of magical in its own, depending on which notes that you're using. But I just feel again that this is one of the most wonderful treats to give to our early elementary and elementary students is using the pedal, because so often we're holding back until they can start using whatever you want to call it, overlap pedal, syncopated pedal, all these kind of things. So I think that by not having use of pedal in the very early stages, they're missing out on something that's really just makes being a pianist one of the most wonderful things that we can do.
That makes perfect sense. Will you play a little bit of Butterflies for us?
Yes, so you'll see that we're in this position. So basically, the left hand is in a third and the right hand is a second. And we're just using, though, as you mentioned, rotation. So not thinking so much, and it's just that rocking movement so they can get a little bit of the feeling. And here we go. So it's just, I'm hoping that the student will just, see the painting depicting the butterfly and just then, I don't know, I hardly know anyone who's never, said, oh, I love chasing butterflies. And it's such butterflies in of themselves, just because of their very lightness, are just kind of magical, I think, to all of us. And, of course, and it doesn't have to be, I wrote with movement, but it can be. So it doesn't have to be, real fast movement. It can be even more slowly, and just like the little butterflies have just very, very delicately flying. So we can keep it as, a tempo that whatever the student can work with. But I think that if they know where they're going and stuff like this, if they can get that feeling and they know where their arms are going and they've practiced it blocking like that, it helps them if they wish to go and the teacher wants them to see, what can we do? Can we move it a little bit faster? So knowing where they're going through those blocks really helps if they would like to take it that faster tempo.
That makes perfect sense. Talk to us a little bit about how you approach teaching that rotation with your students.
Well, I would say that the biggest thing that I do with my students is use my old-fashioned door handle here. And it's, I have the old-fashioned, like a round knob there. And it's, I wrote a technique series where I talk about rotation. and try and be very specific. But even there, I mentioned going to the door handle. So the door handle, my door handle is my teaching assistant. And when they go on the door handle, I show them, like for an interval of a second is very small. So I take them up to my door handle and I say, now this is if you don't really want to open the door, you want to do it very slowly. So you just are being very careful. Maybe you're going to sneak up on somebody. So they just do a little bit. And I say, that's what a second is. And then we come running back to the piano and we go right. Fortunately, I have it right in my studio, but we still have to go a few feet to the door handle. So that is my very best approach. And even when I've had students for many years who've done things with good rotation, but sometimes physical things, just like in anything that has an athletic component to it, you have to remind yourself. And so I find that the door handle is the best helper. So every teacher should have a door handle in their studio. But it has to be the right kind, because if it's the kind, and I find that they're less common in more modern building. So they're going to start becoming collector's items, especially for piano teachers.
That's wonderful advice. Is there anything else you'd like us to know about butterflies?
No, I would just like everybody to enjoy it and just picture the painting and then just think of their own experience with butterflies as they play it.
Excellent advice. My guest today has been composer Catherine Rollin. Her piece is Butterflies from the new National Federation of Music Clubs Festivals list. You can find it in her book, Museum Masterpieces, Book A, available at a fine music retailer near you. Thank you again, Catherine.
Thank you.